Yeah, it's running. Okay, so we're going to talk today. I'm Moshe, coming to you from Israel and Galilee. Today we're going to talk about a bunch of stuff. The big one is Trump postponed the attack on Iran, which was supposed to be on Monday for 2 to 3 days, at the request of the UAE, Saudi Arabia, and Qatar. And we'll get into that. And we're going to talk about how I believe and how I think I can convince you to believe that Trump just accelerated a very massive end times event pertaining to redemption and how he just did that. And I don't believe that was his intention either. But we'll get into that in a little bit. Okay. So what I'm going to do now, since we're going to have a great time today, and you're going to walk away feeling really good, thanks to Trump. Not that he wants this, but you're going to feel really good at his expense, I might add. And I'm going to break this down for you. It's not going to be for everybody. A lot of people are going to reject it, but a lot of people aren't. Okay. Trump crossed some big lines, you know. Okay, I'm going to go to the live stream and jump into the chat for a moment and put up a post, which is going to take seconds, not minutes. I got the sound and picture running. My moderators, or at least one are here. Thank you, moderators. And let me get the post in. All right, I don't believe I have any typos. No, looking good. Let me pin this up with the YouTube pin deal, which is a pretty good deal. I think that's one of the better things they did. I don't know, today the type font is larger, which is a good thing. Okay, being a Bible believing site, which the Bible I read is happens to in English. I read the Hebrew one. I use the Hebrew one, and I use the King James mostly. And I never did find any aliens in the Bible. No. Did you? No. No, that gives you a hint where we're going. Okay, we're going to do some praise. I'm going to do praise, and I have no control over people joining in or not joining in. There is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 Okay. Wow. Yesterday we had a really bad day. I believe I told you we had the guy that bought the house next door was, I don't know, ripping up the land, and he ripped up some sewage line. I don't even think the guy knows it. And sewage was leaking onto our property. So we had to get it fixed quick. And that required an 800 shekel visit from a guy with a truck to pump it out. Now we got to deal with this guy next door. So I had these people working here, and they left doors open apparently because Beulah got out. And I don't know how long she was out, but she was out. And somebody took pictures of her because I understand she went down by the highway, and the dog police came to the house and gave me a pretty strict warning about that. And then she's wound up home. So I'm trying to explain to Beulah she can't do that anymore. She doesn't seem to be listening and understanding it. Oh, so I mean, it's the same guy that got Yaffa out, where Yaffa was gone for 2 or 3 days, and he just doesn't. He's really a nice guy. He's a great guy, but he comes here and he just thinks, "Oh, I want to get this job done. I want to get it done," and he doesn't think, "Oh, the dogs will get outdoor," and he leaves doors open to the street from the yard, and that's our problem. A bad problem. And he got in yesterday, and I was doing the broadcast, and he walked right by me. I didn't hear him. We let him have access to the house. We know the guy. He's a really good guy, but he just doesn't pay attention to the dogs. So it's 1,000 shekel fine if that happens again. Wow. So today, so please pray that the dogs don't get out anymore. Please pray for that. I hate asking the Lord to do this because it's just dogs and pets, but I just got taken so off guard yesterday. So please pray. Otherwise, I'm afraid it'll happen again. Yaffa got out a few times. Mommy got out once, I think. And then Beulah gets out too much. And she's constantly trying to find ways to get out, And she's got one time she squeezed out from between some fence pieces. She took her hair off. I mean, it's so annoying with her, It's just, she thinks she's an outside dog. And I think she created chaos. She was down by the highway. It's not a real highway, but they go maybe 30, 35. And she got down there, I was told. And I think people were worried about her, and they called, that dog. I don't know how long she was out, but I think it was a good amount of time. It's getting really annoying with her, but she's too stupid to understand. You can't convince her. Dogs don't understand that, and she, thinks she's super smart, and, so please pray for me on that, okay? It's really upsetting. And the dog is really a loving, sweet dog. She really is. She's really, she's really nice. She'll come in the room. I have a mat near my bed that's really thick and cushiony, and the dogs like to lay on it. And she'll come in there, and I'll be asleep or something. And she'll wait till she hears me wake up, and then she'll give me some cold nose therapy, to make sure I wake up. All right. So let's talk about Iran. All right. So Qatar, UAE, and Saudi Arabia went to Trump and said postpone the attack. Now let's talk, and I'm going to be very frank, open, direct about these people, and I'm not going to pull punches. I'm going to lay it out. Not just the way it is, not just the way I see it, but the way it is. These are the children and the grandchildren of the guys that were running these oil countries that got the thing started. Their fathers and grandfathers. Okay, they were tough guys, and they became dictators and kings, and they were tough guys, and they weren't born with a double platinum spoon in their mouth, and they got it going. Okay, and they got their kids and their grandkids, and these are either the kids or the grandkids running these countries as dictators. Now, dictators will frequently call themselves an emir, a president, a prime minister, or a king, and they or a prince, and they don't get elected or any, they just the country is their own business. Like some people, some families have a little grocery store. Well, they got a country, okay? And these people are pathetic pieces of garbage, these dictators, okay? They have no respect for the poor people, no respect for anybody. They're 100% raised as Satan bots from their family. If their family was not Satan bots, they would have been thrown out or killed and the thing taken over by Satan bots. If you don't understand stuff like that, you're not going to understand me, and I'm sorry. Okay, but that's how they operate. All right, Satan's the god of this age. The age hasn't closed out yet. It's very close, and that's why all the leaders of all the countries are espots. Remember, he took Yeshua up on the peak and said, "Look at all of this. I'll give it to you. I have the power to do it." And Yeshua basically told, Satan to take a long walk on a short pier. Not at those exact words, but he told he wasn't going to take anything from Satan. Satan's an idiot. So anyway, they're morons. Okay, they grow up, and what are these people good at? They went to Harvard, they went to Princeton, they went to Oxford and Cambridge, right? Yeah, their families buy a wing or build a new library and they let these kids in. These are mentally ill kids. These are morons. These are kids that, grew up with, in a 50, 100,000 square foot house with 30 or 40 servants surrounded by soldiers and bodyguards and private jets, limousine. They don't live like anybody regular. They lived a secluded prisoners of the royal family, their family. They couldn't go out. They can't go anywhere. What about them going to college? That's a joke. Go to college. What do you think? They sat there and burned the midnight oil studying with a coffee pot. Stayed up till 3 o'clock in the morning, woke up at 7 and went and took a test. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? You believe that's how they went to school? They go to school. What do they do? The family gives them a budget of maybe $400,000 or $500,000 a month, and they go and they rent a huge house or they rent a triplex penthouse, and they don't live with 30 or 40 or 50 servants. They only come with 8 or 10. Now they got limousines, they got bodyguards, they got this, they got that. These are mentally ill people. These are people that have hate levels through the roof. They don't know what life is about. I'm serious. They don't understand anything. They don't have any real life experiences like you do. Everything around their life is structured and controlled. They can't go out and do what they want to do. They're not like Hitler, that was a tough guy that took over, that was in jail, and he raised and trained the brown shirts to beat people. These are whooshes. It's like they're weird people. They're not real bright. Okay, how do they get this country to run? Well, their family teaches them they're morons, I suppose, or they probably say, well, we don't do it, we hire people. And they hire people, a lot of people from Great Britain and from Europe, and not that much Americans, but some. So that's how they got their oil fields and their wells and the refineries. They paid these people to get the job done. They hired Bechtel and people like that to come build reservoirs and airports or whatever, right? That's how they did it, okay? And then they hired people to come train their military, and these that's all they do. They don't have any ability. You got to understand this. They're dumbbells, okay? Does the same thing happen in America? Well, remember George Bush Jr.? What do you think? Remember Joe Biden? What do you think? Remember Barack Obama? What do you think? What do you think? Remember Jimmy Carter when he was new in office? He had to take a former president with him to go negotiate with some country. A lot of you are too young to remember that. But he was so scared he didn't know what to do. You know, these people are S-bots, and they're put in by Satan. And not skilled, competent people. They're put in there because they listen to the demons. Okay, if they don't listen to the demons, then they're not there anymore. They resign, they quit, they leave, they get a heart attack, they get hit by a car, whatever, right? All right. So these are morons. So they're getting scared. Why are they getting scared? Because when Trump starts attacking Iran, Iran's going to attack them. And what did Iran threaten the other day? I'll tell you, because I told you the other day also, like 1 or 2 days ago. Iran threatened to blow up the oil fields, like really blow them up, okay? The refineries, you blow the refineries up, and you got, $4 or $5 trillion in the bank. You hire companies to come back and rebuild the refineries. What's the big deal? It takes a few months, right? Or you repair them, or you build new ones. Pipeline goes, same thing. Repair it, build a new one. Usually you can repair it. Usually you can repair the refineries. Okay? Electric generator plant goes, you repair it or put a new one in across the street, Now let's talk the oil fields. If they go, what do? You're going to go put new oil fields in? You can't. They're there. The oil fields are there. What happens when you blow those up? Now, Iran wasn't just talking about little blow up, like big time. Okay, the oil is likely going to go all over the place. They're going to lose a massive amount of oil. It's going to saturate the land around there, which is going to cause some difficulty rebuilding, like with roads, and, it slows them down. You see the movies like, in let's say, cop shows in America in the 70s. There's a dead body found in LA by the oil fields, and you see these things going like this, getting the oil out right there. Big metal pieces, right, like, girders or something, going like that. Okay. That stuff gets blown up, and the well itself gets blown up. And what happens is it catches fire. And now you have an oil fire in the well, and you got to put it out. That's not always easy. Sometimes they put explosives in there to put it out. Once you extinguish all the oxygen from the fire, it goes out right away, immediately. There's nothing to burn. That's it. It goes right out. It doesn't linger. It can't. It's not the flu. There's no oxygen. So an explosion gets rid of the oxygen, and then it goes out. John Wayne made a movie back probably in the 60s or 50s. It was a decent movie about John Wayne, who was transactional, I believe, was running around doing oil well fire putter outer job, right? And he's going to the Middle East and fighting these big fires, and that's where I got my information from. Years ago I watched this movie, decades ago. It was a decent movie, I remember it. So, it had all the John Wayne heroics and everything. So, okay, moving along. We got, you got a lot of problems there the, uh, with them fearful of these oil wells and also the LNG gas. What else are they afraid of? Well, let's use our heads. What else would Iran hit in their country? Okay, how do we figure that out? Well, we go to what Trump said he would hit in Iran, right? So Trump is educating the Iranians, not intentionally, unintentionally. Let's start with the power plants that Trump threatened to kill or wipe out in Iran. So they'll do that to what? They already hit the UAE nuclear power plant 2 days ago, I think it was. Didn't do a lot of damage, but they tried. They sent 3 drones at it. One got in, but the UAE is saying, well, we got it under control. But the IAEA, the International Atomic Energy Authority, is very, very worried about what really happened there. And they're probably going to want to go over there and do an inspection if they let them in. So there might have been serious damage there, guys. Okay. So they're already telling us what they're going to do. They're going to hit the nuclear power plants and the regular diesel oil-driven electrical generator plants and the ones that got water and reservoirs spinning stuff to make electricity. All of that, they're going to blow it up. Okay? What else are they going to blow up? Well, Trump said he was going to hit the water desalination plants in Iran. So Trump educated them. So what did they turn around and do? Well, they haven't done it yet, but they're going to hit the water desalination plants in Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, probably Oman, maybe Jordan, and definitely Saudi Arabia. And what will happen then? Well, let me answer your question with a question. How long, although you didn't ask the question, I'll make believe you did. How long can you go without water? Well, a month? No. 2 weeks? No. A week? No. 3 days or thereabouts? Yes. Oh, Trump could do an emergency relief and bring water in. Not really. I mean, what's he gonna do? Start with the C-17s full of bottles of Evian water? You'd have to fly in like what, 20 or 30 F-17s a day, maybe more, and then truck the stuff out and distribute it. It would have to be day and night airlift. What would they do? Use the tanker planes that used to put fires out? Nah, the water wouldn't be clean. They'd have to treat the tanks, and that would take a long time, and that wouldn't work. I don't think they would do that. What would they do? Build new water desalination plants? Well, if you could hold your thirst for 4, 5, 6 months, yeah, that would work. Does this fit Bible prophecy? It does. It's found in Jeremiah 49, starting in verse 34, going to the end of the chapter. Iran is called Elam back then. E-L-A-M. Elam. Easy. Okay. Now, the geography of Elam changed during history due to army excursions, conquests and occupations. So sometimes Elam included Iraq. Sometimes it did not. But Elam was always Elam, which is southwestern Iran. So it's Iran. So maybe pieces of Iran, like northeastern Iran, wasn't considered Elam back then, right? Maybe. But because it's controlling that big section of land called Elam, it's all going to go. They're not going to sever it out. They're not going to sit there and say, look, Mr. Trump, we read the prophecies in Jeremiah 49 and we realize there's a problem. So we're cutting ourselves off from southwestern Iran and we're telling all the people there that they can't come into our country. They got to scatter into every nation in the world, which is what the prophecy says they'll do. Well, of course they're not going to do that. Now, do we know for sure that Elam includes Iraq? No. It also may include a small piece of Syria, but let's leave that on the side because I don't think it's going to be monumentally different one way or the other. But it can include Iraq. Now, why doesn't, between Iraq and Iran, on the Iraq side, let's call it that, of the Persian Gulf, you have a bunch of countries who do not appear in the Bible. Those names are not in the Bible. Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, and Oman. They're not in the Bible. They're not old biblical nations, right? They're not. Go look them up. So what do they belong to? Elam? Maybe, because there really would be like parts of Iraq and that piece of Syria. That's where they would be lumped in. There is no country over there or no countries over there in the Bible. So if Iran is going to include Iraq, it's going to likely include them. Okay? Could it include them and not all of Iraq? Maybe. Or maybe not Iraq. I don't know. Does it have to include Iraq and pieces of Syria? No. No. We don't know. Because I don't know what piece of history the Lord is moving on. But I do know that it's time to read you these passages, which is going to take a very brief period of time. So we go to Jeremiah chapter 49. That comes after 48 and before 50. Just kidding. And we go to verse 34. And I read in the King James, the word of Jehovah. Now I translate the names to Hebrew when I read, okay? But the King James doesn't say Jehovah, but the Hebrew does. Okay. The word of Jehovah that came to Jeremiah, or Jeremiah in English, the prophet Navim is plural, Navi. Is that what they use? Let's read it. Let's see what they put in there. Navi, yeah. Yeah, they do. Against Elam. Now, let's get the Hebrew for Elam. Alim. It's not Elam, it's an ayin. So it's ayin yud lamed mem safed, or ayin vav lamed mem safed. So it's not an E sound, it's an A-Y sound, like alim. Okay? Not Elim, Eilim, like an ayin. It's an A-ish more. Okay. It's hard to put it in things. This Elim, but okay, we'll go with Elam. Oh, we'll keep life easy. Okay, in the beginning of the reign of Zedekiah, king of Judah, which is Judah in English, saying, okay, so the prophecy was given during the days of Zedekiah, not for the days of Zedekiah. Understand that. Okay? Now we're in verse 35. Thus saith Jehovah of hosts, which I would say you would be better translating hosts as armies, but we'll go on. Behold, I will break the bow of Elam, the chief of their might. Now, you should understand this easily. The bow, you pull it back, right? You pull the arrow out of the shaft, you load it in the bow, you release, whoosh, okay. Putting it in modern talk today, okay, an arrow was also called a missile back then. I mean, not in the Bible per se, but in reference in literature. Okay, so what we got here is missile launchers and missiles. Now, I've told you many times, going back years, that you could have hundreds of thousands of missiles, but what really counts is how many missile launchers you have. The missile itself does nothing without the launcher. So to break the bow of Elam, he's breaking their missile launchers, which would predominantly be their missile cities, of which there's at least 40. They build them in, the side of a mountain, so you got hundreds and hundreds of feet of mountain on top of the missiles city, which is rock and dirt and stuff like that. And you can't get those penetrators to go down that far. I mean, you could be 900 feet. Penetrator may, go 60, 100, 200. It doesn't go, I don't know how far it's going to go. There's different penetrators, but it's not going to go 900, 1,000 feet or anything like that. It's not going to go 600 or 700 feet. Now, they got to have doors to open to get the missiles out. You can't shoot a missile through a solid wall, right? So those doors are vulnerable. Then they also have to have entrances and exits to come and go and bring stuff in, like missiles, water, food, whatever they need, right? Okay, then you have to breathe. So they close these things up with blast doors, so they got to breathe. So they need to, how do you breathe? You get a vent duct, like a big thing like this, made probably out of aluminum, but they might make it out of heavy steel, so it has strength in bombings. And you get a fan inside that's probably about 6 or 8 feet. It could be 3 or 4 feet. That goes pretty fast. And it sucks the air in from outside. So they got what to breathe inside, right? Okay. Now, the fan's driven by electricity. The lights require electricity. The missile launchers require electricity, the conveyor belts and things to move the thing, the communications, the radios, everything in there requires electricity. So they put the generators in the missile city behind the fortification inside the place. So now the thing is running on diesel. It's not running on nuclear. It's running on diesel. So they have a good amount of diesel stored there, probably the size of a pretty, like a 40-foot swimming pool, 6 or 8 feet deep, something in that order. So they probably have enough to go 2 months or 3 months so they could sustain the war and really bother people. Now, maybe they got 2 or 3 swimming pools full of oil. I don't know how much. But they're not running this based on 5 or 10, 50-gallon drums of oil. Forget that. They got a lot of oil in there. Okay? All right. They got a lot of oil. And they of course they need to pump the oil from their reservoir tank into the diesel generator, and that requires electricity because you're talking about a pump. So they need to run this generator pretty much all the time. I don't believe they got solar panels out there because they would get blown up and they'd lose their electricity. So they're doing this, but they need to exhaust the gases. You can't keep a closed system, they choke themselves to death. Okay? So they got to have an exhaust duct, which is some sort of a pipe or, some sort of path, probably made out of metal or aluminum or something, where the gases come out from the diesel generator and they deliver that outside. The gases go outside the missile city. So they're kind of like a submarine running underwater. They got to have a tube up at the surface of the, submarines can run under the surface, even down about 40 feet. They could call it snorkeling, and they have a pipe basically taking the spent gases out from the diesel engine in the submarine. So it's like an exhaust, where you have an exhaust manifold in your car, and then it takes the gases down into a pipe going under your floorboard, and it expels them out behind the car, and you drive away from your expelled gases. Unfortunately, you drive into the expelled gases of the guy in front of you. Okay, so you're doing that, and what's going on? Well, in a submarine, it's the same thing. They're getting the gases out through a pipe above the surface, and then they are sucking air in from another pipe, or sometimes two, up at the surface with fans dragging fresh air into the submarine. Okay, and it goes into ductwork and gets distributed around the submarine. Okay, and they're doing this because they're charging the batteries so they can go down deep under the water and run the submarine on the batteries. Now, what you got today with the nuclear submarines is they don't need to be going up there and charging batteries, okay? But they can have a problem with air. Maybe they can recycle the air a little bit, but I'm not even sure they can. So when they run out of air, their air tanks are, used up or something. They got to go back to the surface and snorkel just to get air, or they could just go surface, All right, so the Special Forces soldiers can be landed by helicopter. Let's say, not talking massive amount. Let's say a team of 12 guys or 18 guys, not a big thing. Probably more than 6. Maybe 12, 18, maybe 24. And that would be probably 2 helicopters with some equipment, and they land right by the missile city. So are we going to find that the missile city's guys have little holes, 2-inch holes, and they stick their rifles out and shoot the soldiers? No, because the barrel of those rifles would probably have to be many, many feet thick, like 30 or something. No, that's not going to happen. Could they put soldiers around the missile city to defend from this? Yeah, but there'd be airstrikes before from fighter jets, F-16s, F-15s, F-18s, A-10s, F-35s, the kitchen sink, and they would wipe these guys off. They just ball them. They'd be gone. What about they take human hostages that they were teaching to use guns on their television, give them an AK-47 and put 50 or 100 there? Then what? Well, Iran's playing into Trump's hand. Now they're no longer human hostages because they got machine guns and pistols and rifles, and they're shooting at the soldiers, so they have become a militia, and they could be engaged and killed. What about putting human hostages there that are not that way? Well, then it's pretty much the same scenario, but you lose a few hours because the special forces will come and literally drag them off the mountain. At first, they made tear gas them, okay? It's not that effective to tear gas people when they're outside, okay? But if you push enough tear gas, it'll work. So they keep tear gassing them and get them off the mountain. And they tell them, come to the first aid station, we'll give you relief, we'll wash your eyes, and so they'll get rid of some of them. And the ones that won't go, they'll drag them off the mountain. And then what they'll do is attack hands, boots on the ground, the doors that open to fire the missiles. How do you take care of that? Well, they just have backpacks full of explosives and they put them on that gate or that doorway, or it either slides in or it tilts up, or that's about all you can do. I mean, could it flop down inside? Yeah, it could, but that would weaken it, but it could. And they blow it up. All they got to do is blow it up enough to bend the track and the door so it doesn't lift up or slide back or drop down. It's jammed up. And have you destroyed the bow of Elam then? That's not literally the bow, but you stop the bow from working. Okay, let's talk about another plan. They blow this door up by, here's 200 pounds of explosives. They run away 100 yards, boom. They come back, another 200 pounds of explosives, go back, boom. Repeat as needed till the thing is open and destroyed. Then what? Then you take a few 200-pound satchels and you start dropping me in the hole, and now you're blowing up the missile launches and the people inside. Is there another way to do it? Yeah, you can gas them. You go, the Green Berets, the SEALs, the Recon Marines, the Rangers, the Special Forces, the Delta, they go and they look for the air ducts. And if you're walking around, you're going to find it. It's going to come out with smelly air, hot air. It'll be detected by heat. The exhaust from the diesel engine to power the generator would be putting smoke out essentially, but the smoke would probably be far away from the air intake. So they got to find the air intake, but they could find it. Maybe it's in the ground, like just right a few inches over the surface, but unlikely because of rain and mud. So it would have to be elevated several feet up in the air. Okay, it's going to be hard to, if you want to disguise that so a plane going by at 400 miles an hour doesn't pick it up, their photographs will pick it up, or the troops on the ground will pick it up. So what do then? They just drop tear gas down there. Well, what about if, you go every 50 feet, they got mesh work over there that doesn't stop the airflow, but stops you dropping explosives and tear gas in there. Well, the tear gas, if the air can get out, the tear gas can get in. But they'll be blowing it out. It'll be a little bit difficult, but again, enough tear gas and you're going to get there. Or they can just keep throwing explosives down there and blowing up these traps to stop it. But they might have 12 or 15 traps. And look, it's going to work. It's just going to take a little bit. It might work in 10 minutes. It might work in 2.5 hours. It'll work. Okay? And then they got to come out or they get killed. And then you blow up the missile facility, and guess what? The bows of Elam have been destroyed. What were the words that are used? Behold, I will break. What's the word for break? Shabar. It means break in pieces, shatter maybe in English. What does Strong's use for English? Let's see. Uh, break down, off in pieces, broken, crush. Crush is good. You can drop the mountain down on it, maybe. I don't know. Okay, but it's going to be disabled one way or another. The bow of Elam, the chief of their might. That's the chief of their might, the missile launcher. Okay? That's what they rely on. They don't rely on helicopters, Air Force, Navy. This is what they rely on. And upon Elam will I bring the four winds from the four quarters of heaven, and will scatter them toward all those winds, and there shall be no goyim whither the outcasts. It's he means the heathen nation. Sorry, no heathen nation, goyim nation, whither. The word is goyim, but it can mean the goyim, a country. You don't scatter people into another person. You scatter them into a nation. So it's a heathen nation. Okay, scatter them towards those winds, and there shall be no nation whither the outcasts of Elam. The outcasts are maybe not all of Elam. Some might die in Elam. The outcasts of Elam shall not come. So there's no nation they're not going to go into. They're going to go into all the nations. That's a pretty big scattering. For I will cause Elam to be dismayed before. Okay, dismayed is Strong's number 2865. Chatat. Again, it's like shattered, busted up. Let's see what Strong's does with this word in English. I think the King James is trying to soft pedal the word here. To prostrate, hence to break down, violence, confusion, fear, abolish. Okay, busted up, fearful. That's a good way of looking at it, I guess. Dismayed before their enemies, and that's in the plural. Okay. It doesn't say Israel, okay? So it's the nations that are against Elam. I will cause Elam to be dismayed before their enemies. You know how arrogant they are now. And before them that seek their life. And I will bring evil upon them, even my fierce anger, saith Jehovah, and I will send the sword after them till I have consumed them, and I will set my throne in Elam, and will destroy from them the king and the priest, saith Jehovah. So their leaders will be destroyed. And we're in a partial fulfillment of that now. When he says he sets his throne, how did Solomon judge? He sat on the throne and judged. Okay. So God, what he says, he put the throne there, he's going to judge them there. Okay. That's what he's talking about. But it shall come to pass in the latter days that I will bring again. Hang on. Hey, what's up? How you doing? Uh, okay. I'm in the middle of a live stream. Could you wait an hour and a half or so? Is that going to work? Or you really need to call her right now? Can we do it? Can you ask her if we could do it later in the morning? Because I'm in the middle of a live stream and it's like a lot of people listening. I'll call you as soon as the live stream is over. I'll call you. Maybe a little more, but not much. No problem. I'll call you when I'm done. Okay? We'll get it done. Yeah, I'm not going anywhere. Yeah, I'm not going to go take a 5-mile jog. No. Okay, we'll get it done. Okay, bye. Okay, sorry. All right. The last verse was, and I will set my throne in Elam and will destroy from thence the king and the princes, saith Jehovah. But it shall come to pass in the latter days that I will bring again the captivity. In other words, they return of Elam, saith Jehovah. And that's why you read in Ezekiel 38:39, the attacking countries against Israel. Persia is there. God brings them back, the survivors, the children of them, whatever, to Persia, and they try to take another shot at Israel, and then, okay? Now you have it. Now you have it. Okay. So that's where we're at in prophecy. Could it possibly be that this is not prophecy that we're seeing fulfilled? I don't think that's the case. That's my answer. It's too coincidental to just be accidental in this day and age, at this time. Okay? No, I don't think so. All right, let me jump into the chat and see if I'm getting questions for a very brief minute or two, and try to answer them, and then we're going to move on into more good stuff here. How's our sewer? Well, it's still, the neighbor broke it with some trying to churn up the earth of the house next door when he bought the house. Uh, and that is, if you're asking me about a collaboration, write me an email, please. My email is Israel Giving with the number 7 That's one word. Israel Giving with the digit 7 at gmail.com. I don't do anything commercial. So I'm not going to, if it's a product you want me to promote, I won't do it. So I can't make merchandise out of God's people. So Damascus becomes a ruinous heap. Yes, yes. That's in Syria, but that's pretty close to Israel. It could be part of Damascus, I don't know. But, we're really in the dark about it, including the other nations, because we don't have a definite one way or the other on that. Why are you barking, Mommy? Mommy, what's wrong? Mommy, what's the matter? What's wrong, honey? Did you see an alien? Like Donald Trump did? Oh, we're going to talk about that. All right. So we just covered some good ground here. All right. So why did Trump go and give them 2 or 3 day? I mean, what the heck is going on that Trump postponed it 2 or 3 days? I don't know what these goofs think they're going to accomplish in 2 or 3 days, but basically what I'm telling you is the UAE guy and Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, Oman, UAE, Saudi Arabia, and even Jordan. They're babies. They're like goofballs. They're dinglings. They're morons. They don't know what they're doing. They're scared. Oh, they're going to blow up my electricity. They're going to blow up my water. They're going to blow up my palace, my Rolls Royces, my diamonds, my emeralds, my sapphires, my oh. That's what they're afraid of. Is anything going to change in 2 or 3 days? The only thing that's going to change is Iran will have more preparation time. That's all. And Iran loves taking free shots at UAE, Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, Saudi Arabia. They shoot a few drones today, let's shoot a few missiles tomorrow, and nobody retaliates, and they say, look at these idiots. They're so afraid of us, they're afraid to retaliate. Iran officialized, they created a government agency inside Iran to handle the Persian Gulf or the Straits of Hormuz ship passages, and you have to email them for permission, and then they're charging tolls. The media that you read is not mentioning the tolls. Some of it is, but I mean, they're charging tolls, guys. Okay? And they're getting about $2 million a ship, my understanding is. Okay, so you email them and they ask you, where your ship flag, who owns it, who runs it, where you're going to, where you're coming from. And if they think it's okay, they'll let you in. But they'll give you directions to give them the $2 million in Bitcoin or Ethereum or one of those things, right? Send them the $2 million. They'll thank you for it, send you a receipt, and give you time and date to pass through. They say if you don't do this, the consequences will be bad for you, okay? So Trump's got a blockade on Iran, and Iran got a blockade on the Persian Gulf, and Iran got a blockade on the Persian Gulf. So are they making a monkey out of Trump? You bet they are. Is Trump hurting them? He is. He's seriously hurting them. They're sending oil by train. They're upping their train transports. they're getting weapons in their airports. Their airports are running, so China and Russia could, and North Korea and whoever else can fly weapons in. Any airport there are, they got a few airports running. Yeah, I'm serious. And Russia's transporting weapons to them in the land area by the Caspian Sea. I guess Russia's putting it on ships and offloading it or something. Maybe they offload it to Iranian ships in the Caspian Sea near Iran, and they bring it in, or I don't know, but they're getting it in. And Pakistan opened up 6 land crossings to the Persian Gulf. I'm sorry. Pakistan opened up 6 land crossings to Iran. They have a border. So they're saying humanitarian aid. And I'm going to believe they're not bringing weapons in. Yeah, sure. Yeah. And a bear doesn't poop in the woods. He goes and uses a paid toilet. Yeah. Yeah, okay, so, Trump's doing a very sloppy piece of work, okay? Is he hurting them? He's hurting them. The sanctions are hurting them. The secondary sanctions are hurting them. The blockade is hurting them. They've turned many ships away. He is hurting them. But he's not hammering them into the ground, but he's hurting them. There's a difference between hurting and destroying into busting up into smithereens. He's not at that stage, okay? So maybe Trump said, okay, I'll give him the 2 or 3 days, but what do they want those 2 or 3 days for? The only thing I could think of is they're running construction crews and they're trying to fortify stuff. Maybe they're moving Patriot systems around. Maybe they're evacuating. Maybe they're digging bomb shelters. I don't know. Maybe all of the above. What we're picking up from Middle East social media in Arabic and Hebrew is basically the Iranians are saying that America and Iran are doing counter offers. The last counter offer America gave to Iran is unacceptable. And the counter to the counter offer that Iran gave to America, to Trump, America, whatever, is basically the same old song they've been singing for a few months. More reparations, no more sanctions, give us our money back, we're doing nuclear stuff, we're building ballistic missiles, we're doing what we want. There's people running around saying that Trump doesn't really want to get rid of the regime. Because if he gets rid of the regime, the countries in the Middle East, Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, Oman, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, aren't going to keep buying billions of dollars of weapons from America. That's hogwash. That's not true. Trump wants to get rid of them so he can get control of the oil. That's his primary. If he can't do that, then get rid of them. Get rid of them. For real, get rid of them. That's his game. He doesn't want to keep them around for that reason. I don't see it. His biggest gain is to get control of the Iranian oil. See, the people that are selling a lot of oil, like America does to Venezuela, all the sellers, they don't want to see the oil so scarce that it sells for $200-300, $500, whatever a barrel, because the economies are going to fall apart, and they're going to, after a couple of months, have nothing left. the world will be in chaos. When the economies go, wars will be rampant. And that can mean Jeremiah 30, verse 11. He says he will destroy all the nations he scattered the Israelites into. Okay? So they wanted it. I think Trump said, what the heck do I care? I'll wait 2 or 3 days. He probably didn't check with Netanyahu. He probably told Netanyahu, hey, they want this 2 or 3 days where I got to give it to him, And that was that. Maybe they're waiting for maybe Netanyahu wants Shavuot to be over. I don't know when the Talmudic rabbinical Shavuot is over, but I think it's any day. Maybe that's it. Maybe Trump just made this up and it never happened, and he did it to get the Iranians scared the attack was going to come Monday. They get ready. No attack. Then it's supposed to be on Wednesday or Thursday. Then they get ready, no attack. Then Friday after the stock markets are closed in the late afternoon, he attacks. You keep sending them to get ready to be attacked repeatedly a few times. Guess what? The first 1 or 2 or 3 times they're pretty diligent about it. Then after that they don't take it seriously. And that's when you get them. It's curious that he never told us why, other than they asked for it. So maybe there was no real them that asked for it. I don't know. Maybe there was. I don't know. By Trump's actions, I don't think he wants to see these Middle East oil producing countries have their oil wells and everything destroyed. I don't think he could stop it. I could be wrong. I don't think he could stop it. If Trump were to bring 1,000 aircraft into the theater with 70,000 bombs or something like that, right? And he started going to work sending 100 planes. They go out there, they drop their bombs, they come back 15 minutes later, another 100, then another 100, and they keep reloading and dropping bombs, and it goes round and round the clock for 3 days. What would happen? I don't know. I think the missile cities wouldn't function very well, but I don't know. The last time we had a few hundred planes working on them, and the missile cities kept firing. they have more than one door to open up to fire missiles in these things, and they got more than one entrance exit. And that's when I think we started seeing Trump bringing the special forces in. You know, they'll use, if they have to, 25. They'll take a dozen or 2 dozen special forces to hit a missile city, and they'll give them 25 aircraft planes and probably 4 or 5 helicopters to watch over them. And they'll do a darn good job. They'll have F-15s, F-16s, A-10 Warthogs, Apache helicopters. Nobody's getting near these soldiers. They'll blow all the existing soldiers off the ground before the special forces come in by helicopter, and then, they'll do this. So, I mean, they can do that. You just keep constant air, like they did to rescue that downed pilot that ejected. They just kept the air full of aircraft protecting them around the clock. They can do it. Iran's counterproposal to the U.S. includes a vague commitment not to produce nuclear weapons. Now, not producing nuclear weapons does not mean they are going to stop making enriched uranium. You got that? Okay. And there is no mention of the enriched uranium stockpile, the already existing batch, and the Straits of Hormuz. So, they're not changing anything, They always said to the Americans, we're not making nuclear weapons. Of course, we don't believe them, but, I don't care one way or the other about the nuke thing. I don't think anybody's got them. If they did, they would have used them 20, 30 times over. They would have wiped Israel off the map. God wouldn't let them have a weapon like that because they would wipe us off the map. So they call their new thing the Persian Gulf Strait Authority. They gave it abbreviations, no less. PGSA. Very good. Very good. So they're taking mandatory measures that, if a ship doesn't want to get blown up, it's got to do this. Now, they're also selling ship insurance via Bitcoin or Ethereum and those things, digital currency. They're selling insurance to the ships. Yeah, we'll buy Iranian insurance. They'll make good on it after Trump annihilates them. It's funny. The IRGC Navy has warned ships to remain within an Iranian designated approved corridor or face a firm response. So they want them traveling close to Iran so they can sink them if they want to. I mean, and Trump's running a blockade at the same time. What's wrong with this picture? Well, the ships have to get permission from Trump to enter the Persian Gulf, then pay the toll to Iran and get permission from them. It's not. In Israel, we call it a balagan. A balagan looks like, rush hour traffic, in Rome around the big circle, or it's a joke. I mean, it's it's nuts. What if we get Trump comes back on Wednesday or Thursday and says, well, the UAE and Qatar, and they asked me for another extension, and he says okay, and all that. Yeah, I don't know. He could do that. They're both trying to outwit each other, and they're both not doing a great job. Iran and America. Trump may tell them, look, guys, you can't do the 2 or 3 days constantly. You just got to suck it up. You're going to get hit. Okay, it's talk is cheap. He doesn't believe America will get hit. I'll bet you the Iranians can find a way to hit America. One of their disguised ships nearby launching drones or missiles. Let's see what happens. I'm just deleting my notes as I go, so I want to cover what I didn't cover. I don't want to go back and repeat, and then we're going to get into the aliens and the American government. Pakistan has actually deployed 8,000 troops and fighter jets, drones, and air defense systems to Saudi Arabia under a secret defense pact during the Iranian war. Well, we covered that weeks ago, but apparently they're still there, and Pakistan doesn't want to see the war. They want peace. They don't want to have to turn against Iran, and they maybe won't. The Pakistani force included JF-17 jets, probably a Chinese jet, Chinese H-09 systems, I believe that's an air defense system, and Pakistani operated equipment that's financed by Saudi Arabia. I don't think Pakistan's in need of money from Saudi Arabia, but maybe I am wrong. I don't know. Iran has every intention of hitting the American bases in the region as much as they can. Pakistan is talking about going up to 80,000 troops if they need to. But I don't know what troops are going to be good they're going to do because Iran's not sending ground forces in. The Cuban president, what's his name? Miguel Diaz Canel Bermudez. Wow, what a name, huh? He's got, let's see how many were. 1, 2, 3, 4 with a hyphen yet. Wow. Um, on Monday, issued a sharp warning to the U.S. saying, any military action taken against the country from its northern neighbor would result in a bloodbath in response. Well, what do you think he's going to say? It doesn't mean there'll be a bloodbath. You think the Cuban people are going to fight the Rangers and the Recon Marines and the regular Marines and 82nd Airborne? I mean, come on. What are they going to do? Nothing. It's not going to be a bloodbath. I've got an interesting thing for you right now. After Trump posted the pictures of his alien perp walk, Trump posted a picture of an alien walking near him, bound in handcuffs and chains, with, I guess, Secret Service or marshals guarding him. Okay? After Trump and his alien perp walk pictures, there's a very serious threat facing the United States regarding severe storms and flooding, tornadoes possibly as well, especially in the Great Lakes area, Ohio Valley, all the way down into the southern plains, with flood risk especially important in Texas and Louisiana going forward. Now, wonder if that's where his oil is, in Texas and Louisiana. How about that? But I don't think this is a coincidence. I think Jehovah got pretty darn mad over Trump, but we're going to dig deeper into this. So I'm not too impressed with the Cuban guy's story. I think he's scared, that's all. Iran gave him over 300 drones to attack America with, and I don't think Trump thinks that's funny at all. 2 teenage gunmen kill 3 and then take themselves out outside a San Diego mosque. I believe it was their biggest mosque in the San Diego area anyway. Maybe bigger in a broader geographic area, I don't know. It seems that they were not Muslim because they were apparently killing Muslims. Or maybe they were one kind of Muslim that likes to kill the other kind of Muslim. I don't know. Those things exist. The last thing before we go in and dissect the alien perp walk. You read about unicorns in the Bible, right? Let me get a verse for you. Let's see. Numbers 23, verse 22. Uh, God brought them out of Egypt. He hath, as it were, the strength of a unicorn. Numbers 24, verse 8. God brought them forth out of Egypt. He hath, as it were, the strength of a unicorn. Deuteronomy 33, verse 17. His glory is like the firstling of his bullock, and his horns are like the horns of unicorns. Job 39:9. Will the unicorn be willing to serve thee, or abide by thy crib? Job 39:10. Canst thou bind the unicorn with his band in the furrow, or will he harrow the valleys after thee? Psalm 22:21. Save me from the lion's mouth, for thou hast heard me from the horns of the unicorn. Psalm 29. Okay, well, we got the idea. Unicorns in the Bible. So what is this? Well, the unicorn is the rhino. Okay, the rhino's a big thing. What are they, 18? Oh, I don't know. I think they're over 2,000 pounds. I don't know what they weigh. They're massive. Let's see what rhinos weigh. I don't know. What is the body weight of a full-grown rhino? The white rhino in Africa is the largest land mammal. Doesn't give me the weight. Oh, it does. 2024. Okay, it's about. It's about 4,400 to 5,300 pounds. That's the weight of like a Lincoln Navigator. Oh my gosh. Females are less, 2,800 to 3,500 pounds. That's still a heck of a big, you know. Then there's the Indian rhino, which is the one-horned version. And they run 4,600 to 6,170 pounds. Okay, you got the idea. These things are massive. Okay, so you got some that says horns. So some got a big horn. The big horn could be up to about 2 feet, something like this. And it's probably about that thick at the base. And they take their head, which is, their head would be like, they could run into a wall with their head, a brick wall, and it's not, they're just going to go, they're not going to hurt themselves. So they get you and they gore you, they run at you and they shake their head and impale their horn in you. A lot of times the person or the animal gets stuck on them, and then they're very strong. They flip their head and they throw the person off. So you have a hole going through your entire body that is, 4 or 5 inches thick, like getting shot with an artillery shell. You might be around for a few seconds or minutes, but that's not gonna. You'd probably be unconscious. You're not gonna last. Okay. Now I don't know. Maybe if they got into a fight with a hippopotamus or an elephant, they might have problems. But uh, lions, they don't really have any. The hippo and the rhino don't really have any natural predators. Okay, lions occasionally try to. Now, a baby hippo is always by the mommy. Okay, and you mess with the baby, and the mommy's gonna come and kill you. Okay, now they go in water, and there's crocodiles in the water, but a baby rhino is a big thing, and I don't think the babies are probably 300 pounds or something, 250. I don't know. They're huge. You're not gonna like a baby elephant or something like that, even bigger maybe. I don't know. The alligator's not gonna get a chance to go near the baby because the mommy will run at it and try to kill it. Um, it ain't gonna work. Okay, she's gonna stay right on. Now, when the thing gets to be 800-900 pounds, she'll maybe let it be 50 feet away or 30 feet away grazing, and she's just nearby. But when the thing is small, she ain't letting no crocs get near it. Okay, it's suicide for the croc to try it. And you don't get a thing where there's a pack of crocs working in unison. They don't do that. You know. Now lions do that. So what the lions will sometimes do is wait for the nighttime when it's cool. Probably not late at night, probably early evening. The rhino will go and graze on vegetation. Okay? And they'll occasionally, this is a rare event, if you have a big pride with maybe you got 12, 15 lions, they may try to hit a rhino, a full grown rhino. But it's a really bad idea for them to try because they're going to lose lions. And what they try to do is run at it and they try to bite its legs in the back and get it to bleed. It's not that easy because the thing's like got armor and it's vicious. It's vicious. I mean, it's aggressive. It could run over. A lion is, a male is 350. Females maybe 250 pounds, or maybe the lion can get up to 450 and the females are 350. I think that's it. But that's nothing to a rhino. You got a 5,000 pound completely angry rhino. If he sits on a lion, he'll break his bones. Then they try to stand on the rhino's back and stuff. This is not a common thing. This is something if the pride of lions is really short on food or something like that. This is something they're very, very reluctant to do. It's like hunting a big bull elephant. In history it's happened, but I mean, the elephant just steps on it and kills it. They don't. All right, so what? And the elephant's got the tusk. He tries to get him with the tusk, and that's a similar thing, except the tusk is many feet long, and they impale the animal on the tusk, and then he's got to shake his head to throw it off. And generally, he's going to kill the animal quickly too. So there's been bones dug up by archaeologists many times in Israel with rhinos. There's one rhino they dig up the bones, the jawbone, which would have the horn and stuff, I guess, or the skull or something. And they dig it up, and it's a species of rhino that's extinct now. So we also had hippopotamus, or hippopotami in Israel at the same time as the rhinos. They come from Africa, so it's not hard to understand. They go from Egypt, which is in Africa over to here. And we had those too. Hippopotami are also pretty dangerous, and um, they're like a tank also, and they got usually 4 teeth. Their teeth are probably about 3-4 inches thick, and they could be long, like 9-10 inches or something, maybe a foot, maybe less, and they'll bite. They got these jaws, and they bite down with fantastic pressure, and these teeth will penetrate into an animal or a person and make big holes in them, and that's death. You know, they don't usually bother trying. Lions get them again. The baby will be with the mother, and these things fight. I mean, they don't try to just get shy. I mean, they charge and everything. All right. So Trump's published alien pictures. Him walking with some alien that looks right out of a Hollywood movie. The AI people said it's definitely AI. Trump has not made any comments about this, but previous comments by the federal government has said they're going to release what was previously secret data and information on aliens. This was not done as a comedic act, okay? It's not like a comedian making a joke, okay? Now, Trump didn't come up with a comment. Maybe he's trying to leave himself a back door. If this thing goes bad, he's just going to turn around and say, oh, that was a joke. I don't think so. And they warned about this, and they're trying to make the people think that when Yeshua appears in the clouds, it's either being done by aliens as a ruse, and Yeshua is actually an alien, or some stupid. I don't know what it is, but he's trying to steer the people away from believing that it's Yeshua when he appears in the clouds. And these scriptures are not taught by the church world anymore. They were in the days of the apostles, but they're not anymore taught. Dave Schofielded it and merged it into one, where they're teaching the people that there's just one appearing, and that's like Yeshua appears and then he's on earth a second or two later. They don't understand that there's a differentiation that I've covered so many times because it's all through the scriptures. Matthew 24:30, Revelation 1:7, 1 John 3:2, and it occurs in Zechariah 12:10, which is the siege on Israel, and that's in progress now, has been for a long time. So we're very, very close to it, and they're getting scared. They know it. They're not going to teach it. Satan doesn't have his churches educate the people in the truth. He's the father of lies. Now, a lot of people aren't going to like what I'm saying, but I believe that this is going to accelerate or push forward the destruction of America, the daughter of Babylon. Okay? This is going to move it ahead. And yesterday we prayed for God to move it ahead, and then the next thing I know, the perp pictures, and I don't know what to tell you, except we're going to pray again today. I'm not taking any chances. We're going to keep praying. There are no aliens in the Bible. There are rhinos. There are unicorns, which is a rhino. That's why I did this, to show you there is a unicorn in the Bible and what it is. And you could find all sorts of archaeological digging up of the bones. It's real. They're called rhinos. You've seen them, Tarzan knows about them. It's a rhino. So that explains the unicorn. It's not some mythological, rainbow horn, white little thing that looks like a deer running around. No. It's these big suckers the size of an SUV. You know, I've seen them in the zoo. I grew up in the Bronx, very close to the Bronx Zoo. We could walk there. So when I was a little kid, my grandmother would come over, or my mother, or both of them, and they'd put me in a carriage or stroller and take me to the Bronx Zoo, and I'd see all this stuff. And then when I got older, on the weekend, my parents would take me into the zoo every now and then. We'd walk over there. So I told you guys I rode on camels. They had a little camel ride there where you went up steps to a platform, and they had a saddle that held about 6 kids. You're talking kids less than 6 years old, and they'd put you in the saddle and put a belt around you. You're way up in the air on a camel, and then the camel would take a walk in an oval circle. I would say probably 400 yards or something like that. And he'd go slow. And they'd bring us back and unload us. That was the camel ride. And then they had one with elephants, the same thing, some kind of saddle on an elephant, and they'd take you around. Donkey, horse, pony rides would be pretty boring for the Bronx Zoo, so they did the things. I mean, it's not every day you're going to ride on a camel in America or ride on an elephant. You used to hear the lions roar there, and I tell you, you could hear the lions roar more than a quarter mile away, at least a quarter mile. At least more, I think. You hear them roar. They're really frightening when they roar. And the males are the ones that really get the roar going. The females can too. Females are plenty tough at 350 pounds. You don't want to have a fight with one of them, But the males are something else. A guy I know was in Africa and watching them over there, and they were, it was one of the game preserves, and they were, some croc was hiding lightly under the water to stop the female lions from drinking, because when they put the head down, he could snap them and grab their head. And if he grabs their head in his big jaws, you're talking probably an 8-foot croc, right? Grabs them by the head, they can't do much to destroy him. If they grab him, if the croc grabs them by the leg or something like that, the lion's going to sink their teeth into the croc immediately and probably kill the croc, go right into his head if they can, and get his brain. So he got to grab him by the head and drag him under the water and drown them, spinning them around and disorient them. So it's dangerous for the lion, because the other lions can't save her. If she gets dragged under the water, then they're not going to see it. They're not going to know what happened. They'll be really upset. But it's a problem. So they're well aware of it. Being predators, they're smarter than the average animals, so they wouldn't drink the water. So one of the female lions was calling the male lion to come over, telling, communicating to him there was a problem in the water. He knew what was going on. So he just walked up to the water's edge, took his paw and started banging the water, which probably made the croc think, that the lion was lapping the water, because the croc has a visibility problem, seeing from underwater out to what's going on the surface, and he sees an image of the lion and he hears the banging. He thinks they're lapping the water, and he jumps out to try to grab the lion. And the male lion, 450-pounder, grabs with his mouth the croc and flips him on the ground, smashes him on the ground, and then kills him. Once he gets him out of the water on the ground, it's curtains. It's over. And the other lions probably came over and they had dinner. They just start biting into him and ripping them apart. That's all. So, But they're so crazy, these crocs. I've seen videos of them where they have an elephant, like a 1,800-pound elephant walking in the water, and they're not going to grab the elephant's leg. It's too big. I don't think they could get a good grip, so they grab the trunk. The first thing the elephant does is start screaming because it might hurt, and then the elephant gets, usually it's a female, they go after a smaller one, gets a grip on what's going on, and the other elephants come running over when they hear the scream, and they start trying to observe this. And the croc's got a big problem if she comes out of the water. Usually she's in water a few feet deep. She doesn't go in very deep, and she'll go out right away. She goes to dry land because she knows that she's safer there. If she manages to fall down in a fight on dry land, she just gets up. Period. But if she's in the water and she falls down, it can be very complicated. So she goes right to dry ground. She doesn't want to fight in the water, and then she starts flinging the thing around, and the other elephants come. And if he's low enough to the ground, one of them will step on him, and now you got squished crocodile. But she usually gets him off. She starts slinging him around, and then they'll try to kill him after that. So, they're pretty dangerous, these crocs. And you got to watch yourself. They grab all year long. People in Africa get killed by these things because they go to get water from a water source, a water hole, and the crocs get them. And usually they send the kids out, and they try to teach the kids how to do it, but they grab kids. They're normally going to attack you at the water's edge or in the water. If you're in the water, it's better for them. But if you're at the water's edge and they could lunge out of the water, grab you and pull you in, then they spin you around and drown you in the water. And that's it. So the idea is, if you're even back 5-6 feet from the water's edge, that's probably too far for them. They need you to be, a few inches or a foot or two. They need you really close. You're 5-6 feet back, they can't jump up and out that good, And when they're on the ground, they're very vulnerable, so they're easy to kill. I mean, you go to a African game preserve and kill them, they'll put you in jail. But I mean, you could shoot them with a .38 special or a .357, a 9mm even. You get them in the head, they're gone. You get them in the abdomen. If you could get the brain, they don't have a big brain, but they're probably concussed if you shoot them in the head, and get messed up, brain bleed and all that. But if you shoot them in the abdomen, they're gonna just run away from you. They're gonna be injured. They know they're injured. They know they hurt, and it hurt them, and they're gonna go hide in the water. They don't really know what happened. Okay, they don't understand a bullet, but they probably would think they got bit. A lot of times when you shoot a game animal like a deer and the bullet hits them and they jump up and kick in the back, that's their reaction. They think some animal bit them. They don't associate the noise with the getting hit with the bullet. They don't have that education, so they try to kick. They think some animal's behind them. So when you shoot a gator, an alligator, or a crocodile, they'll just go in the water and die. They'll bleed out. They're not going to last. I've seen them in Florida, and I lived in a place with it was a gated community on the water, and it had a golf course in front, and they had water obstacles in the golf course, and they had a gator living in there, and the idiots would bring chickens and feed the gator because they thought it was really cool to play golf, and the gator would be sitting next to the water sunning himself. Now, that's the stupidest thing you could imagine, because some cat or dog is going to go over there and drink that water, and he's going to grab somebody's dog or cat, pull it in the water, drown it, and eat it. That's one problem. Next problem is a little kid. They don't think. People like that are idiots. So I was walking with Becca once, and we saw this 5, maybe 6 foot gator sitting right next to his water hole. You know, he made it his water hole while the people were playing golf several feet away, and I thought they were idiots. So they made a nasty remark to my wife. They said, "You're not," she was looking at it. I was used to it. She was looking at it and said, "You're not in Kansas anymore." Now, I had a gun with me, and I wasn't very worried if the thing came near me. Boom, you know. Good night, I'll get one shot in the abdomen and he's gone, you know. But you're gonna probably have a $5,000 or $10,000 legal bill. Fish and Game are gonna conduct a hearing, you know. Who the heck wants to do that, you know? So I thought this was just idiotic. So I called the Fish and Game, and I said, you know, I said, listen, I'm over here at you know, blah blah blah, at this golf course, okay, and today's date is this, and this is the time, and I know this call is being recorded, and there's stupid people out there playing golf a few feet away from a 5-6 foot alligator sitting outside one of these water holes on the golf course, and somebody's going to get hurt. These are very stupid people. Somebody's going to get hurt, and this call's being recorded, and if somebody gets hurt, I'm going to phone in that I called it in and it's recorded. Now, I used to work in law enforcement. I knew how to nail them down. So they sent someone out before we got finished on our big walk and got home, I think. They had someone out there. So what they do, they don't kill the gator. They take the gator, they get nets on the gator, and they know how to do it, and they put him in the pickup truck with water and rags, and, you know, they cover his eyes, and they bind him up, and then they take him far away someplace where he's not going to know how to get back, you know. They'll take him 20, 30 miles away somewhere, and they'll let him out where he's going to be able to make a living for himself, you know, hunt and not bother people and live on a golf course or anything like that. See, the people are stupid. The gator, they're not as vicious as a crocodile, okay, nowhere near. But they still got to eat, you know, and he's living there on a golf course, and he could walk into the water, which would have been brackish water, and that gets them sick, and the walk to the water would have been about 60 yards probably. So he could do that and then swim in brackish water. He wouldn't feel too good, and then try to get into fresh water again. They got beaches over there like Panama City Beach, and once in a blue moon, not often, maybe it happens once every other year or something, they got a good sized alligator gets in that water, and it doesn't do good as salt water, and he walks out of the water onto the beach, and there's people on the beach, you know, with the rubbing on the coppertone and blankets, and this 6-footer comes walking out of the water. Now, he's not trying to eat anybody. He's not going to attack anybody. He'll defend himself if he feels he's being threatened, but he doesn't walk 50 feet away from the water and decide he's going to start attacking and eating people. That's not the way they do it, okay? And the water is toxic to him because it's salt water. So he is just trying to help himself. He's not looking for a meal, you know. But the people rather freak out, and they 911, and then cops come usually. And the cop will keep an eye on him. They know they can shoot him with a handgun easy steezy, and they'll just keep an eye on the thing and get the people away from there. And wait for Fish and Game, and then rescue him and bring him somewhere where he could thrive. You know, they might actually take him to a facility for a couple of days and rehabilitate them from the salt water or something, you know. But they'll put them somewhere safe, you know. And yeah, I'll tell you, there's stupid people. They got a day camp in my area that kids go to. I found out about that, has a lake, and the kids swim in the lake, and the lake is full of alligators. And they're in the same lake as the alligators. You know, what kind of, you know, these people just are stupid. You know, people can be stupid. In the 1940s and 50s in Yosemite National Park, they got bears there. They don't have grizzly bears. They got brown bears. They're 300-400 pounds. They're not as mean and nasty as a grizzly, but you can't win in a fight with these guys. You can't fight a bear like that any more than you can fight a lion. It's not as tough as a lion, but you can't fight them. With a gun you can, or with an axe or a Bowie knife, you got a good shot. But, you know, barehanded, what are you going to do? Punch him? You're not going to bother him, you know? So what they would do, these guys would come around campsites, and they would try to steal your food just by making you back down. They'd walk over, if you had your food in your tent, they'd walk to your tent when you're sleeping and knock it down, go in, knowing you're going to run away. They wouldn't hurt you. If you tried to take the food out of their mouth or something, they wouldn't grab your food. So what you got to do is you got to put your food in a nylon bag with a rope, tie it up, and hang it about 6, well, not 6, maybe 10 feet off the ground, someplace where you throw it over a tree in a way where you tie it up so the bear can't get it. He doesn't have the brains to chew the rope and then the thing falls down and then he eats it. They don't have that kind of cognitive power. A monkey would, but not a bear. So they don't bother. If they come around you at night, they're not going to bother your tent because there's no food in there and you're not food to them. A brown bear doesn't eat humans as a steady diet or anything like that. It's not what he's after. It's the food, and he smells the food. He might look up at it and say, oh, I can't do anything about this, and go walk around somewhere else, you know. If you're running a fire at night and keeping your embers going pretty bright, he's probably not going to come near your tent anyway. But now I think if you go to Yosemite and you run a fire at night, they put you in jail or give you a fine. You know, psychos. So people used to take honey. Okay, they take a little kid, a 2, 3-year-old, 4-year-old, 5-year-old, and they'd be out on the road where they see the bears, and they put some honey on the kid or jam or something on the kid's hand, and he'd hold it out, and the bear would just lick it off his hand. Now, the bear could grab his arm with his claws to make sure the kid doesn't take it away, right? See how stupid you are? The bear generally knows you're feeding him, and he realizes you're being nice to him, and he doesn't recognize you as a game animal, and he just licks the honey, and then he's done. And they took a little, 8 movie, what was it, 8mm movie of it, and the rangers would be pulling their hair out, running around telling the people not to do it. But they would do it. Being idiots, They didn't know any better. These bears are not nice. Now, if you go where they got grizzly bears, they're really not nice. Now, you go up to Alaska and you get close to them fishing for salmon. The bear's feeding. And if you're going to stay, 35 feet away from him, 50 feet away from him, he's not going to be, too worried about you. If you're 60 yards away from him, he's going to almost ignore you. Okay? But if you get 30 feet away, he's going to be in the back of his mind, what is this person doing? Do they want me to catch fish and then they're going to steal my fish? That's what he's worried about. Okay? And he might charge you if he thinks you're making an incursion to grab his salmon or something like that, or even get his position in the water to get your own salmon. He may charge you. He may just charge you to get you to run away, or he might charge you and try to hurt you so you go away, or he might want to do away with the threat and kill you. You ever see a big full-grown male grizzly bear? Their head's about like this. I'm not kidding you. It's like this. It's huge. You can't believe it. In their mouth, and they got claws that are 3-4 inches thick, that long. They open you up with their claw. A full-grown grizz can smack a horse in the head and break its neck. Can you do that? They're pretty tough. Yeah. Stupid people. We don't have any of these predatory beasts here in Israel. There are no rhinos or hippos in Israel. I mean, we don't have that stuff. There's not that much water. You got your Dead Sea, you got the Sea of Galilee. There's another couple of bodies of water here and there, not much. Netanyahu's killing the fish in the Dead Sea, that piece of garbage, the curse, with his stupid ideas of desalinated water in the Galilee. He's such an evil person. I don't think he's stupid as much as he is evil. One of two things. He's evil and doesn't like the country of Israel and the people, probably because, I don't know, it's either that or he's dumb as a bag of hammers. You take your pick. In either case, he's a real problem. So he's quiet about Trump and the delays because he can't do anything. And he got Trump to bomb the daylights out of Iran real good. And he's figuring the next time there won't be in Iran. He's right, I think. So what Trump did with the aliens is absolutely going to get the Lord really mad. Remember that figure in the Bible that was out there glowing in the sun with the reflection, and they were calling him a god, and he was accepting it and stuff like that, and God knocked him dead? Well, Trump's getting closer and closer to getting dead, and the whole country going down. There's a lot of people that are preppers and survivalists and patriots that don't like Israel. Some like Israel, and many don't like Israel. They hate Israel, okay? Yet they say they're Christians. They're not Christians. They go to a church, they're not Christians. Okay, so they hate it. They hate us. Everything for America, make America great again. But they know enough to know there's no aliens. That they know. If there were aliens, why would the aliens let the government get away with keeping them secret? See what I mean? The aliens would want to make themselves known to everybody. They would just fly around at a low rate of speed over Times Square, over Washington, D.C., over Moscow, Beijing, London, Paris. Why would they, Because they got a Superman complex and they selected the United States to be their hero. You believe that, you may as well try to take a trip on the transatlantic bridge from New York to London and see how far you get. There are no aliens. It's not in the Bible. Not there. What do you think? That was an angel Trump got and put handcuffs and chains on an angel? Oh. No, they're trying to convince the people that when Yeshua appears in the clouds, that it's an illusion created by aliens or alien technology or the government or something like that. What's wrong with that is when he appears in the clouds, um, they're finished. They're gone. They're not walking above ground anymore. The tares are gone, number one, and the wicked will be going. And number two, they is the light of Yeshua is going to be like lightning from the east to the west. That's white light. Well, they'll say they did that with a laser or something, right? People will say that. But there's also going to be a sound of a trumpet. Well, they'll take care of that. And then they'll say that it was a projection on of some sort of a movie projector, and they made something of it. It's, this is going a little bit too far, and these idiots believe that they've got a victory over the Lord and Yeshua, and they don't understand that Jehovah turned his back on Israel for 2,000 years. They don't know. They might know we're in recompenses, but this is never going to work. But the fact that they're trying it is going to accelerate the demise of the daughter of Babylon. They're not happy about this. And I don't know what these survivalists and preppers are going to do. If they're going to start trying to convince the people there's aliens, they're following on social media where they run around and they got, 250,000, 500,000, 2 million, 3 million people, is going to go down by probably 75%. So what they're doing now is most of them are ignoring it because they don't know what to do. They don't have an answer. They don't know. They're confused. Trump doesn't care about them. They're too far down on the food chain for him to worry about. If you want Trump to worry about you, you got to at least have a company with, 15, 20,000 employees, or he's not going to consider you rich enough or important enough to warrant his time. I'm trying to figure out why I can't read the print now on my broadcast. It washed it out. I don't know. A minute ago it was fine. I don't know. Anyway, I don't think I got anything I got to respond to. So I'll be watching the media and see what people are going to come up with about Trump. And remember, he left himself a back door where he just says it's a joke. He might try that, but I don't think it's easily done because the government already was talking for weeks about releasing alien data as if it's true. If it wasn't true, you're not releasing alien data, you're making a joke. So he's committed. Let's see what happens. Now, prayer. First thing I want to do is I want to pray again with you. You guys agree with me, and we'll make the prayer stronger. I'll put the prayer out and you agree. Okay, it'll be about redemption. Here we go. My Heavenly Father, if you don't agree with me, obviously you don't agree. But if you're a believer You should agree with me. I don't think you'll have any problems with what I'm going to say. My Heavenly Father Jehovah, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, I pray for you to bring the appearing in the clouds of Yeshua on, bring that day on, the day of vengeance and the day of redemption, when Yeshua appears in the clouds and we see him and we get changed and we become like him and have everlasting life, which is not immortality. And I pray for this, Father God Jehovah, to happen very, very, very soon. Everybody I talk to, everybody I know is busted up right now. Busted up, I don't know the right words for it, busted up. Having all kinds of major problems, issues. It's like we wait for the next bad thing to happen, the next shoe to drop. In other words, the next bad thing. It's just year after year after year of this. You told us through me, that we were in recompenses in early August 2023, the 10th, I believe. And it's not quite 3 years, but it's getting there. And it's been taking its toll on us. All of us are feeling it now. We're all busted up. We're all, mentally, physically, emotionally, every which way. All of us. Marriage is strained. Children are rebellious. Nations are going crazy. The economies are bad. There's so much bad in the world, and the evil are thriving, and the evil aren't even happy anymore. They're all kinds of bummed out and depressed. They try to distract themselves with their wealth and riches, buying things, but they're messed up. So, not for their sake. I don't care about them. I care about the true believers. And I pray for the sake of the true believers for mercy. Not that we're worthy, just mercy on us, because so much weight is on us, so much bad, and we're so weary and worn out and beaten down. I just pray for all of us, for the sake of all of us. You bring redemption on quickly. And I pray for Israel to very, very, very soon be run by the two witnesses, Elijah and Enoch. And I pray for Apostle John to start working openly. And I pray the anointed prince emerges. And I pray for this, all of this, my Heavenly Father. I sincerely petition you to please bring on the appearing in the clouds of Yeshua and bring on redemption, the everlasting life in the end of the age. And I pray this to you, my Heavenly Father, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, and please agree, even if it's a video. And keep praying. Remember the scripture, you have not, you ask not. Remember the judge doesn't want to help the woman, but the woman keeps coming and nagging him, asking him, and then finally says, okay, I'll help this woman. Okay. Our Heavenly Father is not like that. He wants to help us and be with us, but ask. Keep asking every day. We haven't been doing that. Let's try that. Okay? All right. I'll get another prayer out. My Heavenly Father, Jehovah, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. I pray for me and my wife and all the true believers to be to have strength, stamina, and endurance, to weather the storm, to not be so weary, to have your healing and recuperative power flow through us. Pray for us and our animals and pets to be safe and secure and happy, healthy, and whole. I pray for the peace of Jerusalem. I pray we would all have adequate finances and then some extra. I pray for those of us that need a job to find a good job, an all-around good job with good pay. And I pray for those that have their own business, that they would have an adequate amount of customers and clients. Okay, and I pray I can do better videos. And I pray that we all learn the Bible better and know the Bible better. And again, mercy on us, Father, mercy and grace on the true believers. And I submit this to you, my Heavenly Father, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. And you can agree with that even if it's a video. Okay, now we go to some spiritual warfare. My Heavenly Father, Jehovah, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, I loose off of me and my wife and all the true believers and our households any witchcraft, sorcery, and spells directed at any of us. They're all cast null and void, no value, no effect. Even if they're indirectly designed to affect us, they're of no value, no effect. And I pray that the darts of the enemies miss us. And I submit this to you, my Heavenly Father, Jehovah, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. Now I'll do this slightly different, including the families. Okay. My Heavenly Father, Jehovah, I pray for me and my wife and all the true believers, our households and families, that if there's any of these people has an unclean spirit in them, the unclean spirit departs these people immediately, never to return unto them again. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, and I pray you would, I submit that to you, my Heavenly Father, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. So we've reached a new level with Trump and his alien perp war, and he's also displaying other alien pictures of paraphernalia from aliens and stuff like that. So we've reached a new era, and let's see how this goes. It seems encouraging to me, and I hope it's encouraging to you. Okay, I'm encouraged. And I send my shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach, and I'm out.